Welcome everyone to the Newly podcast where you get practical, no BS insights on how to grow yourself and grow your career. On this episode, we are talking again to Pace Josey. Pace is the founder and CEO of Trillion Marketing Agency and the VP of Marketing at Max Credit Union. Thanks so much for joining us, Pace.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, we just had so much fun at our last conversation. I just couldn't resist the opportunity to bring you back. So since you had already talked about your regular career journey, what I was really excited on focusing on was your entrepreneurship and how that's really grown your career in amazing ways. So instead of doing your A to B career story like we did previously, which go back to the episode, listen to it. It's great. But I'd love if you would tell us your story of entrepreneurship and how that evolved for you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a huge small business advocate and I love entrepreneurism and I'm all for starting your own companies, your own agencies, or whatever it might be. And I got mine as kind of like a initial side hustle, if you want to call it that. It seems like everyone today has one. They've got some kind of thing, whether they're making jewelry or DJing or starting an agency or whatever it might be. But Trillion Ideas started as that side agency type hustle. And I've really been able to develop it over the past 6 years. And it's helped me immensely, though, in my own professional career here at Max, too.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm so curious. So what made you want to found an agency? What particularly was it about like this idea of being an agency owner that really lit you up?
Sure. I've always had a passion for marketing.
Yeah.
And I used to work for some agencies down in the Mobile area
Mhm.
in Alabama. And so I'm real familiar kind of with how it operates. And I had a handful of clients that I really enjoyed. And circa 2017, decided to start a family. And so got some real extra motivation real quick to provide some supplemental, I guess, type income is where it started. So I
Yeah,
had the background, I love marketing, and then I got some new motivation, and then Trillion Ideas was born.
that's fantastic. Where did you come up with the name for Trillion?
Well, sometimes it feels like I have a trillion ideas, literally.
I feel that.
Always
I
thinking,
feel that.
always going, and I was like, hey, this is perfect. It kind of falls in line with that.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. I think all creatives have like this backlog of ideas that are just kind of hanging out in the back of their brain, kind of waiting to be executed. Well, so let's talk through the theme of our show is growing in your career journey through entrepreneurship. How has your entrepreneurial journey affected your confidence as a CEO and founder? And, what has helped you develop confidence in your skills in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like getting into it, I don't know if everyone takes in the full weight of everything that goes into it. You have like, hey, I got a name, I got a logo, that's great. But the real work is going to begin. You've
Mm,
got management, if you've got freelancers you're working with, you've got client management, you've got invoicing, accounting, like it's the full gambit, especially
yeah.
if it's a smaller type thing that you're running as like a side deal, then it's all on you. And so it really makes you grow as an individual and
Mhm.
professionally in learning and researching all of those skills that you've got to have to get all those things done because it comes back to you and you have to really learn and take that ownership.
Yeah. And I can imagine as you take that ownership and kind of, it's almost like when you kind of get a couple wins under your belt, it, is easier to build confidence. I can imagine as you're building these skills as a founder and CEO, that there's a bit of confidence that comes with, learning some of these skills that are helping you grow your business. What would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get one client and they're like, hey, let's do this one small thing and try it out. And
Yeah.
you're like, great, I'll take that small win. And then you build on that, and then you build on that, and then you build on that. And before you know it, you've got a lot of clients. And then you're like, maybe too many clients.
It's a good
uh,
problem to have.
right? But it's good. You build confidence, and especially dealing and working with clients and learning how they work and how they operate and how they can relate to you best. Because each one has their own unique perks and quirks and all those kinds of things. And so you have to really learn how to manage that relationship.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about, how you've evolved in relationship management and other areas. But I would, yeah, if you could just kind of elaborate on how it's affected your growth, you know, in other areas of your life.
Sure. Yeah. Well, like, dealing with people, it's
Mhm.
learning how they operate, how they react, and what works for them and what works for you, honestly. And so, especially from that management type mentality, that's helped me a lot in my own professional career in that Max and being able to work with people. I do a lot of media buying and vendor management. And so, having that experience, it just went hand in hand me
Mm.
able to know I've got all this confidence and experience that I've worked with my own clients in my own thing to be able to can come over to Max and say, all right, hey, 15, 20 clients and this large budget. Hey, I've got this easily.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
just feels so familiar. And you can use that to your own advantage because you feel more confident when it comes to contract negotiations. You've got the familiarity of how things go and what the flow is. And all of it just absolutely helps you in your own uh, I guess you would call it like professional career and having all those skill sets like right at the ready.
Mm, mm. Absolutely. I mean, if I could give my own example of that, I think podcasting has helped me as an account manager become, just better at presenting to the client, better at engaging with the client, better at knowing the right kind of questions to answer, preparing myself for those types of discovery interviews or client, meetings. All of those things, have translated to my regular career and really grown it. And I think your experience, like you said, of, you know, starting a campaign from ideation into all the way into completion and managing those contractors, that basically was and is your job right
Right.
now in your 9 to 5. And yeah, it's cool. It's like if you get this win and this confidence over here, it's like easy peasy when you go to your W-2, right?
Absolutely. And then yeah, you even said it there, taxes. Like you become like when you own your own gig, I mean, you're the manager, you're the accountant, you're the tax advisor, you're the account expert, you're
Yeah.
everything.
Hmm.
And to have all those skills in your pocket and to continually grow those in your own side business or hustle, whatever you want to call it, it's hugely important and can be very beneficially impactful in a career.
Absolutely. I also think sometimes side hustles are a good way of exploring if you want to make a pivot in your career. Like a couple times I've taken on, short gigs or freelance gigs because I was like, I don't know, maybe I would want to try doing something like this in my career. And have you ever done things like that where you've taken on projects that have kind of helped you fuel growth in other parts of your career?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Growing in different areas, you're just never sure when you're going to need those skill sets. Like
Mm,
it could be tomorrow, but it could be 3 years from now. I kind of have in my mind, I call it like my trillion empire, if you want to call it that.
yeah, yeah.
And I've got a trillion ideas. It's an agency I started more recently. It's called Trillion Treasures. It's
Mm,
like, it's an eBay store where I sell kind of like retro games and things like that. So I'm treasure hunting and selling stuff.
I love it.
And then I've got one that I started and I way back burnered outside of my wheelhouse called Trillion Beats.
Mhm.
And it's supposed to be like a sound audio type collaborative type thing with music. And I got plans for
Yeah.
to grow the
Dang, man.
empire.
You got a
But
lot. Yeah.
you
Very
grow
cool.
in all kinds of areas, and I love learning new things. And
Yeah.
all of that just translates into every part of your life, whether it's personally or professionally, picking up a new skill, and it even further ingrains like the stuff you had already learned, whether it was management or how to research a topic,
Yeah.
like how to build a new type proposal. All of
Mhm.
those things just kind of fall in line.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They do kind of fall in line. And so it seems like from your story, what I'm hearing is just a lot of learning of self-reliance, which, I think in this culture today, really learning how to rely on yourself it can be a little controversial and it can be scary when you're your own boss. So what has building Trillion taught you in terms of self-reliance?
You have to do it. It's when it's your own thing, it's not going to get done without you.
Yeah.
And so that's hugely important that it's a do or don't kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And if anything, there is no let me procrastinate until way later when I feel like it. Nope.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
it. You set a commitment and you follow through. And that's huge because that even evolves into like personal life with your own commitments, and then when it gets into professionally too, and like your I'm gonna call it like the 9 to 5. Like, yeah, it means you can start and do something. You're also, like you said earlier, taking it from ideation to full fulfillment. Like, you're able and confident because you have to do it every single day.
Yeah, I think education has really, at least for me, when I was exploring my career and pivoting my career in different ways, I always felt like I had to have some special kind of education before I went into X particular career. Thank goodness that there's all kinds of weirdos in marketing, right? We all
You're
come from
not,
everywhere.
not alone.
But yeah, I mean, how cool it was for me, and it seems like also for you to really develop skills in one area and realize like I don't need to have a particular specialization in this. I just need to try it and prove that I'm capable, and then I can absolutely execute it over here.
It's like you said, having that confidence that you're able to build off of. Yeah, you didn't own and operate your own business, your own side hustle before.
Yeah.
Then you started this whole huge thing, and it started to roll and to grow and to build. You take that confidence and apply it elsewhere into brand new things that maybe you haven't had the chance to run a team of 10 plus before, or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. And
Yeah.
you're able to really kind of translate that from your own confidence and say, I can do this
Yeah.
and I will do this. And then, hey, watch me do this.
How do you deal with that uncertainty on the front end? Like I was talking to someone recently who was talking about how, one of the best ways to really grow yourself and grow your careers is saying yes to something before you feel ready. That is always so hard. I mean, such a gut clench for
Hmm.
me. Like I want to have all the answers and be prepared. How do you deal with that when you're, exploring this, and how you dealt with that in your agency?
I've always believed that if it's real growth, it feels uncomfortable.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be like the worst thing ever, but if it doesn't feel at least a little bit uncomfortable, I don't know if you're stretching yourself far enough. And
true.
so you feel that growth, you feel that hesitancy. I would encourage anyone to lean into that. That
Mm,
means you're
mhm.
heading in a direction that's newer, it's outside of your comfort zone, and you're about to learn something. And
Yeah.
from that, who knows where that's going to take you? You learn a new skill set, you make a new network contact, you know, whatever it might be. I'd say yes. Go after those kinds of feelings and those types of situations where you can make yourself grow. And if you're able to pull again from that confidence and those wins that you had, small, big, or indifferent, from when you had your side hustle, and use those in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's such a brilliant way of looking at it, and using those small wins and that confidence in the moment, that kind of reconvincing yourself that like I got this. This is in my wheelhouse already, and I know how to do this. Has this self-reliance translated to other areas of your life and your career? How you've sort of grown?
I think so. I've been very fortunate to come to Max, an amazing place. I've been given the opportunity to do a lot and have a lot of freedom and have a lot of our kind of programs and some of our marketing and things are developed. And a lot of that is translated from what I was able to accomplish on my own and
Mhm.
starting out of nothing and learning and growing. And then, boom, here I am. And I've been, blessed with this great role, and I'm able to then translate it into things that I'm doing every single day, and kind of with a full bottom line, here at Max, to help people and all of those things and those wins. I'm able to build off of those and use that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Has it affected your leadership, this idea of self-reliance, and how you led people at the credit union?
It does. The fact that you make yourself become more comfortable with just jumping in and to trying something new, or leaning into that hesitancy, that opportunity of growth. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's huge. If anything, it's leading by example. If you
Mm,
see some others around you and they're like, I don't know, and if I'm ready for this next step or this level, or I haven't quite done that before, I'm like, you can do this. You
mm.
actually can do this.
Yeah,
You may
yeah,
not know it today, but tomorrow you will. And
yeah.
that's from just stepping out and trying it. And in my own experience, I'm able to say, hey, I've done this. This was me coming into something I knew nothing about, and I was able to get out there and try it. And if you fail, great. You just learned something. That's what
Yeah.
happened. You didn't
Mhm.
fail, you didn't lose. It's not all game over. No, you just had an opportunity to learn something. Do it again.
Yeah.
again and again and again. And you're only going to keep growing and you're going to keep learning, and you become a great leader. And if it was something that you didn't ever think that would be you and being comfortable like that, do it. Try it. I challenge anyone to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like for me in those moments, almost like I have to act against an instinct to kind of like,
Mm.
like this fight or flight, like, I need to like hide or run away. It's like, how do you lean into that, acting against your instinct?
It's uncomfortable, but
Hmm.
it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so if you do have from like the entrepreneurial side of things, maybe you can start small.
Yeah.
Start small in some of those outside things. If you're not quite ready in your regular and your type professional career to say, hey, pick me, I want to start this new managerial program or whatever it might be, then try something new in your own entrepreneurism. If you're
Hmm.
trying to sell on Etsy, maybe branch out into a different type of item you're selling, or
Hmm.
try a new strategy of marketing in a different channel, or hit up a different vendor, or whatever it might be. Find a couple of small wins, use that confidence you build, those new type skills that you learned, and then go after it. Try
Hmm.
again. And again, if you fail, you're learning. That's not it's over. Do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we forget, maybe I'll try it once or twice, and then if I fail at it, I'm gonna stop. But it reminds me of, like, I don't know. I used to work in food service. I don't know about you, but made lattes. And I remember, I think the first like 3 or 4 lattes I made, they were atrocious, like the worst probably. And I think I like your point about reminding ourselves that we're gonna fail over and over again, and just keep getting up and keep getting up, because that's how you build that muscle or that skill, instead of like trying it a couple times and then being like, oh, I give up, I'm terrible.
No, that's how you learn and grow. I can directly relate. I was a barista when I
Yeah.
started my first initial type career. You want to call it that?
Yeah.
And no, yeah, I was terrible. It's a hard thing to do. I was
Hmm.
like, what the heck are these people talking about? They're getting oaky hints of whatever out of like this is kind of terrible coffee. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's the thing, you learn and you do and you win. And even from like way back when I was doing that, I learned how to talk to people. And
Mm,
because you're talking to a brand new person every 2 minutes, and they all need something different, and you've got to learn attention to the detail and whatever it is so much more than coffee or
yeah.
food or whatever it is. You are learning like a whole lot really quickly, and
Yeah.
people are relying on you. And those are like really, really good skills to have. And all that again translates and just builds on itself.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine if you can make a connection, if you can learn in a coffee shop to make out how to make a connection in, 2 minutes with somebody, that's going to translate really well to sales and to management, at least, like all of those things. I think people forget that all of the little like micro steps they've taken in the past up
Mm,
to this career has actually given them all the things that they are prepared for and ready for, even though
I
they
love
might not feel like it.
I love that, the micro steps. That's really something someone should go back and look at, especially if they're struggling a little bit.
Mm,
Maybe their side hustles have kind of fallen off, or they are not quite sure and they want to make some moves, but they're not really sure where to start or not feeling confident. Go back and look at all those little steps that they've gotten
yeah.
along the way that brought them to where they're at today. Like there is so much value, like you said, even in being a barista. That's like instant networking. It's just kind of changing the way you're looking at it or thinking about it. But all those are wins. That's experience.
Yeah, it is. You're kind of making me want to get a barista job again, man. Almost, not quite.
Almost.
So, how have your experiences growing Trillion, influenced other aspects of your life beyond your career, like maybe in your personal life, or, ways you've engaged with your community?
Absolutely. I got that chance to serve in many kind of different ways with organizations. Usually, it's tied through Max or professionally. Like MACOA is a great one, Montgomery
Mhm.
Area Council on Aging,
Yeah,
and we get the chance to go make food. It's for food for people for like shut-ins or that have difficulties or whatever it might be challenges,
yeah,
and it's allowed me to feel comfortable in that environment. And you're working with people that you've never met, but here you are instantly working as a team to get all these orders made and all these people served. And that's like a very also just so fulfilling experience,
Yeah.
but something previously I may not have been overly comfortable with. Well, take that ability to go serve in that kind of a community type format, and then it translates back into your career and how you're able to work with new teams and departments and vendors and whoever else, and just being comfortable with people and able to just to work instantly with those you've kind of met like for the first time.
I love that. I think what's so interesting too about that is, I think people forget, I just have noticed a lot of people, have been laid off recently. And I think people forget they can do things like volunteer in the meantime to build their skills. And, I don't know, an hour or two a week while you're still looking for a job isn't that much, but it keeps you sort of on your toes. What would you say to somebody that's like hesitating and trying to find a gig like that?
Do it. Go for it. Absolutely. You have the chance, one, to help people. Yes. You
Yeah.
have a chance to build your own personal skills. Yes.
Mhm.
And it's like networking for good, if we want to kind of look at it from that perspective.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Good. Yeah.
Um, to connect with others and you're serving people, like, yes. And then there's also always that element of unknown of you don't know who you're going to run into and you don't know what conversation it's going to lead to. And you certainly don't know who people know. That's the
Mhm.
kind of thing you're not going to find out until you get out there and do it. And volunteering and serving others, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, like, doing something like that as a strategy, it reminds me of, it's just like, I'm not a sports person, but shots at bat or like, balls at bat, or, it gives you more like opportunities to like hit that target, whatever it is, how many shots on goal, or I don't
That's
even know.
balls, shots, and targets. Yes. I get it.
Sports ball is hard. Yeah, but any opportunity that you have to like hone those skills or sharpen those skills, I gotta imagine like such a great idea to take advantage of it. So
And it's
yeah.
fulfilling
um
too.
what were you gonna say? Sorry.
And it's fulfilling.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
like,
yes.
yeah, you're not doing it for yourself necessarily. Those are just side benefits of just getting to help other people.
Oh my gosh, yes, very fulfilling. Kind of provides some of that purpose that like work may not, in the moment, since you might be
Mhm.
unemployed. So one thing I'd love to know is, what has been the biggest for you, the biggest, like, we all have mistaken beliefs that we confront when we make big changes in our life. What was the biggest mistaken belief that you confronted in founding an agency?
I think, when I was originally thinking through, like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna start this? Can I do this? Kind of thing. Because I was contemplating just getting a part-time whatever.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
something that would be easy and part-time and guaranteed. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be on me. I would just answer to someone else, and versus starting your own thing on your own and it's up to you.
Hmm.
And that unsurety and that moment of opportunity of failure slash growth that I kind of faced. And I feel so happy and blessed and glad that I did, that I jumped into it.
Hmm.
And man, it has taken me far,
Yeah.
personally and professionally, just kind of starting and doing something I was so uncomfortable with. And then from that, just a lot of growth has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it. Sounds like it's just been such a wonderful, growthful experience. So, we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. And instead of our rapid fire questions, we were chatting. You saw one of my posts on LinkedIn about, describing a funny story about a way that I tried to get an attention of an employer as I was applying. And you told me that story, and I just think I would love for our listeners to hear this story. So, tell
Yeah.
us, what's the biggest risk you took in applying for a job?
Sure. I happened to be looking at some jobs, and I was originally trying to get into the agency world to begin with. And there's this particular one I had my eye on, and they were kind of difficult to get in touch with or to get hear back from. And so I went out on a limb and I turned my resume from that traditional, 12 point font, Arial black and white type resume into a treasure map. And
Um,
it had things about me that I loved, and like that I love pets, and I was into defensing, and but then like some of the traditional stuff of school and experience and all those kinds of things. And I took it and I put it inside of like a message in a bottle situation. I filled that with raw sugar and Swedish fish.
Oh
I
my God.
packaged it up and I mailed it to the agency.
Oh
And
my God.
I definitely got that first interview. That helped me like get my foot in the door. I took the risk, and the risk paid off. But that's like in similar to like this whole thing we've been talking about. Like, yeah, this feels uncomfortable and it feels a little weird, and I have no idea if it's gonna work. Try it.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you learn from it. You don't lose a lot. You just try again and hey, make a different treasure map or whatever.
Right.
But I did that. It ended up working, and I learned from that that hey, taking risk can definitely pay off, and be okay with being uncomfortable.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I think, well, it's such a cool story. For one, if I got a treasure map, it would be so cool. I would love that. But I think the other thing that I really love, and as you've related it back to Trillion, is like, just give it a shot, shoot your shot. You never know. The worst that can happen is somebody says no. And sometimes that's hard to deal with, the rejection, sometimes hard, but ultimately, you were the one who had the courage to step up to the plate and really give it a shot. So I think, yeah, I think that says a lot for your confidence and what Trillion has done for you in your career. So I would love to just touch on one more, kind of a rapid fire thing, but just I think in general, I know I've gotten a lot of wisdom from our conversation. So what's one bit of wisdom you could share with others that could help them reach for their full potential, either building a side hustle or in their main career?
I think simply put, go for it.
Yeah.
If you've been thinking about something or you're good at something or you stumbled upon something that you feel passionate about and you're just unsure if you could start this thing or do something, go for it. Try it. I encourage you to fail. Learn.
Yeah.
That's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
And you also be okay and build that up and that own self confidence in yourself by knowing that hey, I already tried that and I learned from it, and then this is what I did to make that better. And that's how a lot of that stuff goes. So do it again and again and again, and you're gonna have all that confidence and success is kind of built off of things that you knew weren't working. But if you're hesitant or whatever, go for it.
Yeah, and I think here's the dirty little secret that I found from, building up this podcast on the side is really that, like, you're never going to feel ready.
Right.
There's never
Yes.
going to be a time when you're like,
Mhm.
yes, I am 100% ready for this next big crazy thing that's going to happen in my life. But what would you say to that?
I'd say yes. It's never going to align perfectly or feel just right or feel super prepared.
Yeah.
No, you just have to do it. You just
Yeah.
got to go out there, take that step of faith, and go for it.
Yeah, and part of that hurdle is and taking that step of faith is just that our brains are always going to fear what it doesn't know. So
Mhm.
it's, we're not bad for fearing it or for, having that fear, but for letting that fear control us, maybe. And yeah, I love the idea of it being a leap of faith. So let's say that people are just on the edge or the cusp of that leap of faith. What's one micro step that they could do today that would take them in a direction of, opening a side hustle or something like that?
Sure. I would say envision where you want it to go. So, like, end goal. Because if you're able to picture where you want it to be one day, that's even more motivating to getting started on that micro step.
Yeah.
So, write it down like, I'm going to sell this thing that I made on Etsy, but what I would really love to do is to have my own shop. And so, take a moment and feel out what that would look like. What would that ideally be like for you? And envision yourself in that end goal and in that moment feeling that and what that success is like. And then it helps you to go back and say, okay, I know exactly where I'm going. Let me take my first little step into getting there. And part of that is just knowing and understanding the end and kind of visioning that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's amazing. Taking the time to envision where you want to be in the end. Yeah. I know for sure in neuroscience and for manifestation, just drawing that energy to yourself, knowing the vision and the end point is totally key. Well, thank you so much for all the wisdom that you've shared, Pace. And I've just really enjoyed my time with you again. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. I appreciate it. I think I got to go get a cup of coffee now. before we
Okay.
kind of talked about it. So, but thanks for having me again.
Totally. Well, I want to thank everyone who joined me in Pace. And if you want to listen to this episode again, it'll go live on all relevant podcasting channels next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channels and like and share with friends who you think would benefit from this information. And join me next week live at 8:30 a.m. on the Newly podcast, where you get more practical, no BS insights on how to grow yourself and grow your career. See you next time.